Good day, everybody, and welcome to yet another session of Unleash with FTEM. And today we have with us Brijesh Awasthi, a special guest, who's the founder and CEO of Netclan. And we are going to talk about something which he calls a pandemic, which is even bigger than the coronavirus pandemic. So if you're intrigued to find out what it is, then stay tuned. And Brijesh, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Rajiv. Thanks for inviting me to this inspiring platform of yours, FTEM, and saying those nice words. Actually, it's a great effort to share experiences, life experiences and stories with the community. Because what I feel, Rajiv, is, it shortens the learning curve. It's not like people will not learn. They will anyway learn. But the people who are trending the same path, who are just going, the same path, so what they can do is they can shorten their learning curve. So thanks again, for inviting me.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's our pleasure. And before we get into the main crux of our conversation today, could you just briefly talk a little bit about your experience? And I was honestly quite, impressed to meet somebody in person who's been a part of the biggest digital initiatives across the country, and if not probably the entire world, where we've covered, so many, hundreds of crores of people on Aadhaar, and you've been a part of that journey. So, and you've been a serial entrepreneur, which is, of course, in fashion these days, but you've been doing it when it was not such a fashionable thing to do. So, we can probably benefit from hearing about your background and experience so far.
Yeah, sure. Actually, I'm an engineer by profession, So, I did my BE in computer science long back and turned entrepreneur very early. They say entrepreneurs are not made, they are born. You cannot stop an entrepreneur. It's like flowing water anywhere. So I started quite early in my life. Then I co-founded a company called Softech. We initially started with the hardware sales. But then if you remember, there was one Mr. T.N. Session who was an election commissioner.
Right.
Right. And he did a lot of path-breaking new things to this electioning process. So he started computerizing and digitizing this whole election process along with the electoral rolls. So that was the time we jumped basically into this digitization and the government IT services. So we worked for quite a number of states. We did, massive data entries for millions and millions of voters. We issued crores and crores of voter ID cards, at that time. And since then, we had been into e-governance. That is a buzzword, it just catched up at that time, e-governance. So all the government initiatives, for the betterment of their processes or bringing in IT into their business, into their departments, that was all clubbed into e-governance. Since we were early, so we got a chance to work with a lot of government departments like food and civil supply, where they do a complete supply chain management of the ration, and the Department of Transport, the citizen identity. And there are a lot of interesting things we have learned all this way because, we have been doing process re-engineering all the way. Since these departments were already working, the government is already working. So our job was, to tell them how they can re-engineer their process, for the betterment, to bring in more efficiency, to bring in more accountability to the system. So that's what we have been doing. So the process re-engineering had been the core of our activities. So that has been linked to the digitization. And we have been then developing systems, putting those systems, working on the build on operate model. So it had been quite an interesting journey in Softech. We did it for almost 20 years. And we worked with, say, Delhi government. We have computerized their PDS system. We have worked with government of MP, computerized their public distribution system. Government of HP, we have just did all the ERP for their transport department, basically. So a lot of things, and all things were, linked to revenue, basically. Revenue is like when we used to work for, say, PDS department in Delhi government. So they said we have 5 lakh BPL beneficiaries, the below poverty line beneficiaries. So what we did is they said, we want to revalidate it because we think that figure is somewhat wrong. So there is a lot of pilferage. We said, okay, at that time we said, okay, we'll take the fingerprints, we'll do the deduplication, right? And we'll see whether they are ghosts. Ghosts are like, the beneficiaries who are not there. They don't exist, but still they have a ration card, right?
Right.
Or there are duplicates.
And this
Duplicate.
was well before Aadhaar.
This was well before Aadhaar. So what we did is we started this process in Delhi. As a pilot for India, we started taking the biometrics in all the 90 zonal offices of Department of Food and Civil Supplies. So what happened is when we started deduplicating the beneficiaries, BPL beneficiaries from 5 lakhs, they came to 2.5 lakhs. That
Wow.
means there were almost 50% ghosts or duplicates in that. The department said, the commission said, no, this we can't do this because we cannot leave people. We have to do this process on and on so that beneficiaries. I'm pretty sure that the beneficiaries are left. Their representatives will come and bang on our head. How can you
Right.
delete the ration cards? We can't delete. We run that process again and again. We gave more time to the citizens, to the beneficiaries to come to the places and give their. But if there is a ghost, he cannot come. Right, so because he's a ghost, if there's a duplicate, he will
Right.
he will be eliminated, right, at somewhere.
Right.
So
Yeah.
there are many lessons. So in e-governance, what we re-engineered the processes. So what we learn is very interesting things. We have been doing, we have done it, and you can share it at length. At a later time.
Yeah.
So
So in fact,
because
what we will do is we'll write up a post, and we'll provide the link to the post in the description of this video. And people who want to go deeper can refer our post, and that will give them links to some of
there
the
are
wonderful work that you
there
guys
are
have done.
yeah, there are so beautiful use cases. I mean, eye openers which generally people do not know what's happening. So
Right.
that you can only know once you are into the system.
Yeah, and you've
Yeah.
been
So
in this whole e-governance and digitalization initiatives of the governments for what, about 10, 15 years or so?
20 years,
20 years. Wow.
almost
Okay.
18 to 20
And
years.
And I think the other corollary which comes out of this, apart from the process side, the technology side, and the governance side, is also a very keen understanding of the real India and the society as we see it. Because more often than not, and at least I'm speaking for myself, people like us who've been born and brought up and spent most of the time in metro cities, we often speak about the real Bharat, or the country as it exists,
Yeah.
but we really do not have a first-hand feel of it. So,
Hmm.
from your vantage point, I think you've got a ringside view of the entire country, of the rural areas, semi-urban areas, urban areas, metro city, the whole landscape. I think that's what probably has led you to your views on where society is, where it is heading, and about the pandemic that we spoke about. So, you want to talk a little bit about what that experience has highlighted to
Actually,
you?
we have worked at grassroots level till the tehsil, till the villages. All these projects, they are large scale implementation projects, whereby you have to move the team, inside everywhere, every part, nook and corner of India, at a very grassroots level. You have to implement, you have to provide those citizen centric services at that basis. So naturally, it gives a lot of insight. Once you go there, you work there, so you learn a lot of things which we, sitting here can't do. That is definitely a very enriching experience for us. Like, for Aadhaar, we had been the major implementation agency for UIDAI. So we worked for almost 15, 16 states. So like we started it from Kerala, we did West Coastal Gujarat, we did Delhi, we did Punjab, we did in UP, we did in MP, Maharashtra, many departments. So we had been instrumental in for the enrollments, and plus certain other services which were incidental to it, but it's not in the common domain. So we have been doing it. Those were very, very large scale projects. I mean, you got a lot to learn from that,
Right.
definitely. As a society and how it works.
Yes, and speaking of society, you mentioned earlier to us that loneliness is one of the biggest pandemics of the society these days, right? And for our viewers who were kind of curious to know in the beginning, the secret is now out. Speaking
Hmm.
about loneliness, Brijesh, what are your views, and how come you've kind of formed such strong views and have created the next phase of
No,
your life around it?
Rajiv, loneliness had always been there since ages.
Right.
If we go back prehistoric times, if we go back 15,000 BC,
Hmm.
when the human was a hunter gatherer, he used to hunt and stay in groups and hunt
Right.
in groups. So a person of my age used to become irritated. So what they used to basically reject the person from that group. because he was not able to contribute. So that person, say, lying on the face of earth, moving around alone, was
Hmm.
a lonely person that time. So that was
Okay.
loneliness at that time,
Right.
right? So it had been always there. But if we see just 2 decades back, when the social media was not there, we were
Right.
not that lonely, because most of our social needs, they were being fulfilled by going out, meeting with the people, connecting with the people in real life and face to face. For all those needs, for emotional needs, recreational needs, for material needs,
Right.
we go out, we used to meet people, we used to interact with them. So that was just 20 years back. So we have been
Right.
meeting people, not sitting at home. Look, at that time you will agree, if we have to play, we'll go out, we'll meet some boys, we'll make a team, we'll start
Right.
playing, right?
Correct.
We can go to a ground, we'll start playing. So that is what we have been doing. So we're not lonely. Now, what is happening is, I can say, even for that matter, in my own house, my son, I found him in the dead of the night playing a game with a very heavy English accent. I said, what you are doing? He said, I'm playing. I said, this time? Kata, yes, there are 4 other people who are playing it. I said, then why are you talking this accent? He said, because, those four are, one is in Singapore, and, he was playing a network game somewhere, right? So basically, we are connected, but we are still lonely. If we go just see some statistics, so YouTube, we were in 2005, we were 2 million. So now we have around 3 billion users in YouTube. And in
Right.
Facebook, in 2008, we were 100 million. So it's more than 2 billion right now. WhatsApp
Right.
was 300 million in 2013. So now we have more than 3 billion or 4 billion users on WhatsApp. So
Right.
almost everything is gone virtual, basically job, date, relationships, everything. And in this scenario, when we are so much connected with the people that everybody is on the social media, billions and billions people have hopped up onto it in just
Right.
2 decades of time. Even America, who had been on the forefront of this revolution of social networking, you talk to them, 3 people out of 5 will say we are lonely. So basically, loneliness is a offshoot of this very high level of connectivity. Because you are not connected to your hyperlocal, you are sitting in your room, you are connected to 10,000 people, but you don't even know who your immediate neighbor is. You hardly have any connection. So you don't go out, you don't meet people. So
Right.
that is creeping in. That feeling of loneliness, the moment you stop, it is creeping in. So it's basically an addiction, and that addiction you carry in your pocket. It is on your bedside. It's not like other addictions, where you have to go out and fetch something and then take
Right.
it.
And you
This
used the word hyper locals. In earlier times, there used to be said that, if you go to a particular colony, everybody knows everybody, or if you go to a small town, everybody knows everybody around, right? So
Hmm.
I guess that's what you mean by hyper local, right?
That is what is hyper local. What happens is, I still believe that 95% of your needs, they are met in your hyper local only. What happened in pandemic, when we started working on some hyper local thing, pandemic started, people were stuck to their homes, there was all closure, curfews around. For small things, people used to call, their connects in different cities, because they
Right.
don't even know that, they can get a help right in their neighborhood.
Neighborhood,
But
right?
they are not connected. If somebody is needing a donor, a plasma donor, what he will do is he will place it on a WhatsApp group, right? So WhatsApp, the person seeing in Chennai will see it, somebody
Mhm.
seeing in US will see that, right? Then he will try to help
Right.
you out, right? Maybe that plasma donor could be right in your neighborhood.
Right.
But the thing is, how would you tell? How would you? Because you're
Right.
not connected. You need a doctor, you don't even know. You will ask 10 other people, do you know somebody with this specialty? Okay, fine. Okay, fine. I'll refer you. And he'll refer you somebody, 50 kilometers away from your place. The needs are basically met in the hyperlocal only. So
Yeah,
that is what it
absolutely.
is.
And the physical world is not going away anywhere, despite whatever people say about the metaverse. I think the physical reality is going to
Physical
continue
reality
for,
will not go away. It will not
yeah.
go away. So whatever we have been doing, for the last centuries, like we have been connected to the society and all our social needs, that would remain.
Yeah. And
So
you mentioned something very interesting about, what was happening in the pandemic, and not to undermine the efforts of, the scores of people who were trying to help out with all good intentions. But it was honestly like, running on a treadmill where you are spending a lot of effort, but that effort is not really taking you very far. And probably the reason was exactly this, that the efforts were kind of distributed over a very large geographical area. And instead, if those efforts, even 10% of them would have been concentrated in a hyperlocal manner, that way I think, much more results could have come out of it, and we could have probably saved, more lives and suffered less during that time period. But despite all the advancements in technology, the solutions were still global in nature. The solutions were that came out, which was largely, websites or WhatsApp groups. They were not really hyperlocal at all.
Yes, Rajiv, you see a scenario, if somebody has a heart attack, right? So there is a golden hour. So
Correct.
in case of emergency, only the person closest can come to your help. So the help will come from a very close quarter. Only then, it is effective. It's not like, you call your son who is sitting in US,
Correct.
there is a problem, then he calls his friend who's a doctor, or maybe, he arranges things. You can call an ambulance. That's not a thing, right? So, but still, there could be somebody who could be very close by, who can give you a first aid and who can save that golden hour for you. So,
Right.
in any case of emergency situation, for most of the things, your hyperlocal, your neighborhood is something which comes to your immediate help.
Correct.
But people overlook it. There are a lot of
Right.
fatalities happen, a lot of things, for a lot of things. I need something maybe, for my work. Suppose I need a resource.
Right.
What I'll do is I'll try to find it, at some website, or maybe, some consultant, he'll refer somebody who's sitting thousands of miles away. There's a possibility, just 5 kilometers away, I have a resource which I need. So what I
Yeah.
say is, we are connected everywhere, but still, we are not connected to the best of the benefit, that we can get from our hyperlocal. That is the main crux, why we started something new and started building a platform basically.
And the golden rule, at least as far as I am concerned, of relationships is that you need to meet multiple times in order to form deep bonds with people, and that
Mhm.
can typically only be possible or feasible in the vicinity of either your residence or your workplace or places where you are frequently going. And from that standpoint, even social networking makes much more sense to be done hyper locally. The long distance networking can supplement this, because you want to be in touch with your friends, relatives who may have relocated, but at least you want those deep bonds with people who are around you locally, maybe who share similar interests. So, how are you kind of solving this problem, and what are you doing in this arena? So maybe you could talk a little bit about what Netclan is and how you are approaching this whole issue or problem of lack of hyperlocal activity and discovery.
Rajiv, before I talk about it, just I'll tell you, like in France, in Paris, they are running a small pilot. What they are doing is they are making a 15-minute city. 15-minute city means in 15 minutes, in that hyperlocal, you will get everything that you want. So you don't have to go out of those 15 minutes, to avoid people going miles and miles and miles. So word over, need for this being hyperlocal is being seen. What we are
Right.
doing actually is we are connecting the unconnected basically. You are connected with a lot of people, but the people whom you know, who already are on your contact list. So how would you know that there is somebody at a earshot or an eye shot distance, or maybe, a few kilometers, whom you would be searching for, whom you would be needing, for anything? What we are doing is we have a profile broadcast, which is a controlled profile broadcast. Controlled means user can actually control whether he wants to be seen into the community, whether he doesn't want to be seen in the community, what information he wants to for the community to see. And there's a hyperlocal distance which he defines. So he says my hyperlocal is 10 kilometers, or my hyperlocal is 50 kilometers, and we can go to 100 kilometers. So in 100 kilometers of hyperlocal, his profile would be broadcast, and the other users can see the profile. Profile means everything about him. You can
Right.
do a proper due diligence on a person. Like, somebody sees my profile, he will see, okay, he's Brijesh Awasthi, he has been doing this in the past, like, whatever information you get in the LinkedIn, so this is
Right.
his professional experience, this is his educational experience. From there only, a person can get into our social, he can see my social profiles, my LinkedIn, my Twitter, my Facebook, my Insta, if I had connected those things, and I'm on those platforms, you can see. Based on that, somebody can decide, oh, yes, this is the guy, I want to connect with, or maybe I need. So, or we have a common interest, or we have, something, common denominator. So what you can do is, then the person can, send an invite to that person. When he sends an invite, so it's a very controlled process. It's not like if somebody just barge in and you see his phone number and you can make a call. It's not that. So person can send a subtle invite. It's like introducing digitally, right?
Right.
So The moment the invite comes, your profile goes with it, with the invites. You can see here, okay, there is Mr. Rajiv Maheshwari, he's doing this and this, he sent a request. Okay, fine. Let's connect. So the moment I accept, I can choose to accept or I can choose to ignore. The moment I accept it, right, we get connected. And once we get connected, the whole channel of communication opens up. Like then we can chat, we can share media, we can share files, we can make audio calls, we can make video calls. So that channel opens up. So basically, right from unconnected, we are connecting the people. And the most innovative part of it is whatever hyperlocal we decide. So suppose I say my hyperlocal is 50 kilometers. My hyperlocal travels with me. So
Okay.
so my hyperlocal is wherever I am. It's not like my hyperlocal will remain Delhi if I'm in Delhi. If I'm sitting in New York, then my hyperlocal is New York. So I will see the community there. I can interact with the community in New York, right?
Right.
And if I go from New York to New Jersey, so my hyperlocal will travel with me. So it's very interesting to see, the people around. I mean, you will see all of the society wherever you are. Suppose I'm sitting in Bangkok and I want to
Right.
see, let me see whether we have people from Delhi, right? Or
Right.
people from a hometown. I belong to a place called Haridwar. I'll say, okay, let me check, if we have people from Haridwar. So I'll set a filter to Haridwar. So whoever has given his origin as Haridwar, will figure
Right.
in the list. So I can say, oh, there are 4 people. So let me see what
Okay.
they're doing here. I know one of them also, right? So this is
Okay.
what it is.
Yeah, I'm smiling because I just met somebody who is from Haridwar today, so I can connect you to him.
Right. So from your college, from your this thing, you can set filters. So and then you can meet people. You can set filters for the hobbies, recreational things, because we have everything in profile. We
Right.
tell the users to complete the profile so that your networking is more meaningful. It's not like
Right.
we want data. It's because it would be, suppose you put a recreational profile. You like cycling, suppose, right? And you want a cycling group. So what would you do? Either you go to the Facebook and see who is around, whatever it is.
Right.
Here in the right, hyperlocal is here. There is, 2 paces down your house. There is one more enthusiast, cycling enthusiast. So let me connect with him. He has given his cycling this thing. So it's an instant connection.
Right.
So that is what matters. So
Right.
you can put filters to anything. So whatever you want to see, you will see, and wherever you want to see, you will see the community that way. That's quite interesting. And sometimes what happens, there is a cost of opportunity. You're somewhere. Like I'll tell you an instance. I went to Boston. I stayed there for 4 days. I came back in 2017. Then there was a school friend of mine. And we were and he was nowhere in the social platform also. So
Right.
we used to say, "Yaar, where is he? Where is he? Where is he?" So finally, somehow, I got to know that he's somewhere in US. So I
Yeah.
got his number and I talked to him. He said, "Yeah, I'm in Boston." I said, "I was there
Right.
for 4 or 5 days." He said, "That place is just 20 miles, from my place."
Right.
So what happened? I'm here in India. He's there in this thing. Had I known at that point of time, I would have met him there and then only. So he could have been there. So there's a cost of opportunity. Sometimes you are sitting at a place, you want a person, and he's just sitting across you don't even know. And you
Right.
will lose him.
Yeah.
Right. So there are a lot of things, connecting to the hyperlocal and knowing who's around you brings a lot of benefits. We don't even know. We rely on, our contact list, our own resource list. We talk to them, for finding anything. So,
Right.
so that is a long way of doing things.
Yeah.
So
No,
lot of things like
absolutely. Yeah, there are, I mean, millions of use cases that, we can think of.
millions of use cases,
Yeah.
very simple thing. People network, where you belong to. Okay, I belong to the same place. Or my Mamaji belong to the same place, right? Okay, fine, yeah.
Right.
Okay, right. What do you do? I'm in IT. Oh, I'm also in IT. What do you do in IT? So
Right.
that is how people connect. If you
Right.
if you are at an airport and you have to crack a conversation with somebody,
Right.
how would you crack it? That is what the
Right.
3-4 questions you will ask.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
right. So
Where
what do
are
you
you
do?
from? What do you do? What are your interests? Those
Yeah,
standard
what are your
people
interests?
things. Yeah.
Right. So right. But you cannot shout and ask everybody.
Right.
So
Yeah.
here, what I are giving the people is a platform who are just sitting there. You are in the airport, sitting on a lounge. You know who is upside, who is downside.
Right.
You can find many, from your college, your school, your same profession. You have time. You can network. You can connect. In the real time, basically,
Right.
while on the move, wherever you are. So
Right.
we call it a global hyperlocal community. Global means it's not like it's not a city-based thing. If you are here only. Wherever you are hyperlocal.
Right.
So that is what the endeavor is, for the people to connect, to come out, to have a cup of coffee together, right?
Right.
And to get out of that loneliness state of mind, where you are just sitting in a room, closed room, and interacting with
Right.
all of the world, but you don't even know who's around.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. The state of social media is not really amenable to having real and authentic interactions with people. For one, I think because of the fear of missing out, everybody is projecting a very different image on their social media profiles than who they really are, whether it is on Facebook or Instagram or professionally also, as we are seeing on LinkedIn. The view that I have of working inside organizations is very different from the view that I get to see on LinkedIn of what organizations actually are like.
it's a very fake thing, one thing, right?
Yeah.
And there is a lot of lack of trust. There's a complete lack of trust, rather, because we don't know what somebody is doing it. You write beautiful lines about yourself. If you have to post your picture, you just put 10 filters, and you put a picture, right? So you talk about all the good things you have been doing. So that's a very fake life we are living, and it's a very vicious circle. What happens is, like in all social networks, what do you do basically it's a content posting. Somebody is watching your content, or you're watching somebody's content.
Right.
You're commenting, you're either chatting, right, or they're liking it. So this is you can summarize the whole networking apps into these
Right.
two three things, right? And then you are continuously engaged, continuously,
Right.
because you send a post, you will see how many returns are there, how many likes are there. So
Right.
continuously engaged. You are not lonely, but you know this engagement makes you more lonely. You are not comfortable being alone.
Right.
You have lost the ability to be comfortable alone.
Yeah.
People are not even talking to others. People are not even connecting to others.
Hmm.
And I call it a pandemic, because it's not me. The countries have realized that it is a pandemic. If you go to UK, or if you talk of Germany, so they have basically already agreed to this. This is a pandemic. It is going in a pandemic proportion, and there is a need to connect. There is a need for the people to come out from their places for their own mental health, right? So they have appointed ministers of loneliness, these two countries,
Okay.
and many countries are following. So there is a minister of loneliness in Germany, there is a
Right.
minister of loneliness in UK. And what their job is to facilitate human to human interaction, to find ways to facilitate human to human interaction, because people
Right.
people there admit that they don't even see their friends and family for the whole year.
Right.
And mostly people of 60 years of age living apart, at a distances, unlike, we are thickly populated here in India. Many countries are thickly populated, but you go to
Yeah.
European countries, there are oldies. All they need is four people to play bridge. They don't even
Right.
have that also,
Hmm. Yeah.
right? So what they are asking, the countries are asking their postmen, they say that department has become redundant, because nobody
Correct.
sends a post these days. Everything is on mail or this thing. So they say the department is there. What you do is, they're telling their postman to go, since the postman is very well connected to all the households. He's been knowing them for ages. That is what
Right.
his job is. So they're telling their postal people to go spend time at least in a day with four families,
Right.
and come back. So they have some interaction. They have some social interaction. So it has
Hmm.
come down to that level. The millennials, they just don't want to.
Right.
And I'll tell you, I just give you reason, what reasons they gave. So in there's a survey in US, so which says that 53% of the children, the Gen X,
Hmm.
they say they are too shy or introvert to connect to others. So they just can't simply go and introduce themselves with others. They're shy.
Right.
So they need something to do it. How do we do it? They are more comfortable with the social platforms. So maybe platforms can help them, introduce one thing.
Right.
26% says the hobbies and interests do not facilitate friendships. Right. That means they are not team players. They're not playing team games. So
Yeah.
hobbies such, they're alone. 11% says they can't find the right people to connect. Means they don't even know their hyperlocal. And 20% says the friendship, is too much work. There's no,
Right.
no, it's too much work. There's too much of commitment. You know why?
Right.
Because they have lost the sense of sharing.
Right. Yeah.
To make a real friendship, you have to share. You,
Right.
you have to share everything, So
Right.
basically, they have lost the sense of sharing. So they have become so self-centric. They say, it's too much work.
I remember there was a very detailed longitudinal study done by Harvard Business School of their alumni, and it was done over a very extended period of time across the lifespan of Harvard alumni from
Hmm.
the time they graduated to the time they were in their old age. And
Hmm.
essentially, in a nutshell, what that study concluded was that alumni who had stronger relationships and stronger
Hmm.
ties with friends, families, relatives, etc.,
Hmm.
they ended up being not just happier, but they also ended up being more successful in their careers
Yes.
as compared
Yes.
to any other factors such as how intelligent they were or how what grades they got or what was their first job on campus. All those things did not matter as much, not even the hard work that they did during their careers, as the quality and strength of their
Own
relationships in a
network.
meaningful way, not in terms of not measured by the number of Twitter followers or Instagram followers.
Instagram followers, basically. So that
Yeah,
is what is the need of the hour now. The
yeah,
generation is moving out. Last 20 years of this social networking has made them so isolated. Sitting in the home in the corner, they don't even want to switch on the lights. They want to stay in the
right,
dark. You will
right,
be surprised to know most of the youngsters now, they will not switch on the lights.
right.
They will have very dim lights. They will be playing.
Yeah.
I don't know. So this is what is happening. So this is this is pushing them
Hmm.
more and more into more psychotic problems.
Right.
Mental health is
Yeah.
deteriorating. Their social skills are totally haywire. They don't want to
Right.
meet people. They want to even greet people properly. It's
Right.
unlike we go into the park and we say hi, good morning. They're totally shifting,
Right.
and everywhere it's a phenomenon which is everywhere. So
Right.
there has to be a way for these kind of for the people to come out, to meet, to make vibrant hyperlocal communities, to interact, to share,
Right.
to have fun. So that is
Yeah.
the need of the hour. So
Correct.
I mean, basically, what I say is, we are trying to in our own Netclan, what we are trying to shift the communities from less than meaningful virtual interactions
Hmm.
over large distances to short, meaningful, personal interactions over shorter distances. So that is what we want to do. And it's
Right.
not like you are we don't want you should not be connected to the person who is far away. You have to be connected, but you need to know your hyperlocal. That
Right.
is the need. I feel in my work only. I feel there's so many things which I can get in the hyperlocal, but I'm not getting it because there's hardly any community. I can't ask. I
Correct.
can't go out and shout on top of my voice that yes, this
Yeah.
is what I need. Are you there?
Right.
So somebody has to do it on my behalf. So let there be an app. Let there be a
Hmm.
platform which shouts, which says,
Right.
yes, I'm here. These are my hobbies, or maybe this is what I do. I can help you out. Let's
Right.
connect. So that is the
Yeah.
whole idea.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'm sure this is a deep pressing problem of the society. And I'm sure, Netclan will be able to fill this void to a very large extent. We'll put the links to download the app and the website as well in the description of this video so that the viewers can firsthand benefit the value of staying connected in a hyperlocal community. So do check out the description to this video. And lastly, Brijesh, before we let you go, since you've been a serial entrepreneur, I can't let you get away without offering your piece of advice to the budding entrepreneurs. What are the two things that an entrepreneur should really do or take care of?
In my case, what I've learned, my takeaways from whatever I have done till now. One is you have to work with conviction. If you are not working wholeheartedly towards a cause or towards solving a problem, or maybe towards your own startup, then it's very difficult, or maybe very unlikely that it will be a fruitful thing. So the
Hmm.
conviction in what you are doing has to be absolute,
Right.
and along with conviction there has to be persistence.
Right.
We have to persist in all circumstances, all ups and downs, whatever, keep giving it up. Sometimes the success comes very early, sometimes it comes late, and sometimes success comes and it eludes you come out of it. I have seen it, the last venture which I had, it was a fintech. I opted out early, not because of the persistence, because I wanted to do something different, but again I should have persisted there. you know
Right.
it has become a unicorn.
Right.
Right. So persistence is very important. So keep doing what you're doing. And the third thing is patience, especially with the new generation of the new startups. What I'll say is, look, you have a team. Team is the core of it. That's the asset of anything. If you don't have a coherent team, which is on the same page, which have the same energy level, then things becomes very difficult. But in the team only, what happens is there could be people, who are not with the same psychological bend as the founders. So we have to give them space. If they are delivering, it's not like, we say, they're not working, because living. I don't want, in my startup, I have never allowed anybody to leave, because I know they are an asset. They are learning, they are doing it. So maybe everybody is not as efficient, maybe, or as not as committed to the cause. I have something very close to my heart. No, I have to do this. I have to do this in the best possible way. Why today I have to do it today only? Why I have to wait for tomorrow? Let me sleep late today. Today is a
Right.
Sunday. I should be working on Sunday also. But not everybody will do that. Have patience. Build a good coherent team. Persistence and conviction. Without conviction, don't work. If you don't believe in your idea, if somebody tells you anything, about the competition or something, and you get a jolt, stop.
Oh, that's very valuable because especially with what is happening these days, again, as a result of the kind of image that is being portrayed in the mainstream media as well as social media, a lot of people are biting into the entrepreneurial journey without knowing what they are getting into. So I think these three things kind of put everything in perspective, solve a problem, have conviction in the problem that you're solving, and the industry or the industry segment that you're in. And once you are in it, be persistent. Don't leave it midway if you're really convinced. And thirdly, have patience, because you may be highly convinced, but others may not share that same sense of purpose or sense of passion. So let it be as far as the team is concerned. Otherwise, if you don't have the team members working alongside you, then you will not really have a venture, or you won't be able to meet your objectives at all. And we've seen that with the great resignation, and with mainstream IT companies facing
Yeah.
27% attrition and all of that. So I don't think uh, there's anybody who doesn't realize the value of that. But this is a good mantra to kind of follow to keep the team together. So thanks, Brijesh, for these golden words of advice, and all the best for Netclan. And once again, for the benefit of the viewers, the details of some of the projects that Brijesh has done, as well as the links to download the Netclan app, will be down below in the description. So do take a look, and we'll also place the link to the other episodes of Unleash with FTM. And with that, Brijesh, thank you very much.
Thanks, Rajiv. Thanks again.